Walk into almost any farmhouse, cottage, or converted barn across Britain, and you'll find the same timber holding the place together. Not pine, not beech, not some clever new engineered composite promising to replace it. Oak. A 400-year-old oak beam will still be doing its job long after the house around it has been rebuilt twice. And here's the part that should stop you in your tracks. We've had cheaper, faster, lighter alternatives for over a century, and oak still wins. Today we're going to find out why. I've spent 2 decades with my hands in this trade, restoring broken chairs, rebuilding staircases, repairing beams that have seen more history than most museums, and in all that time, one thing has never changed. When a client wants something to last, something that says this matters, something their grandchildren will still be arguing over who inherits, they ask for oak. Not because it's fashionable, because it works. So let's talk about why, not in a dry textbook way. I want to take you through this the way I'd explain it to someone stood next to me in the workshop, timber in hand, actually looking at the thing we're discussing. Here's something the furniture industry doesn't like to admit. Every few years, a new material comes along promising to solve the problem of solid wood. MDF, chipboard, laminate, engineered composites dressed up with a wood effect veneer, each one cheaper to produce, faster to manufacture, easier to ship flat packed in a box you assemble yourself on a Sunday afternoon. That's not me being sentimental about the old ways. That's simply what happens. Chipboard swells the moment it meets damp. MDF crumbles at the edges once a screw's been in and out of it a few times. Veneers peel, laminate chips, and reveals the cheap core underneath. These materials were never built to be repaired. They were built to be replaced. Oak was never built that way. Oak was built to be used, damaged, repaired, and used again for generations. That's the entire difference, and it's why we're still talking about oak while last decade's flat pack trends have quietly vanished from every high street. Fair question. If oak is genuinely superior, why does anyone buy anything else? Cost, mostly. A solid oak dining table costs considerably more up front than a laminate one from a budget retailer. Weight is another factor. Oak is dense, heavy, and awkward to move, which matters if you're in a rented flat up 3 flights of stairs. And availability plays a part, too. Cheap alternatives are everywhere. Ready to take home the same day? A proper piece of oak furniture, especially anything bespoke, often needs to be ordered and waited for. These are real, practical reasons. I'm not going to pretend otherwise. But what people often miss is the long-term maths. A laminate table might cost 1/3 of the price, but it'll likely be replaced within 5 to 10 years. An oak table, looked after properly, can still be in daily use in 50 years. And it'll have gained character rather than lost it. When you break the cost down over decades rather than days, oak usually wins on value as well as durability. Oak is what we call a hardwood, though that term confuses people. It's not really about hardness in the way you'd think. It's about how the tree grows and how its cell structure forms. But in oak's case, the name happens to fit. It genuinely is hard, dense timber, and that density is doing a huge amount of work for you. Dense timber resists dents. It resists scratches better than soft woods like pine. It holds screws and joints firmly instead of the wood crushing around the fixing over time, which is a common failure point in softer timbers. And critically, oak contains high levels of tannins, natural compounds that make it remarkably resistant to fungal decay and insect attack. This is precisely why oak beams from Tudor buildings are still structurally sound 5 centuries later, while softer timbers from the same era have long since rotted away or been replaced. There's also the grain. Oak has a pronounced open grain structure that gives it real visual character. Those distinctive medullary rays you sometimes see as attractive fleck patterns on quarter-sawn oak are unique to this timber. No laminate print can replicate that depth, because you're not looking at a picture of wood grain, you're looking at actual 3-dimensional growth patterns built up over decades by a living tree. When I'm called out to look at a piece of oak furniture or structural oak in a property, I'm checking for a specific set of things, and it's worth knowing what these are, because you can do the same assessment yourself. Surface graying, oak left outdoors or in bright, unprotected conditions, will silver over time. This isn't damage. It's a natural weathering process called photodegradation, and it can actually be reversed with the right cleaning and refinishing approach. Water staining and dark patches. Oak reacts to iron. If a piece of ferrous metal, an old nail, a screw, even iron and tap water used for cleaning, comes into contact with damp oak, you'll see black or blue-black staining. This is a chemical reaction between the tannins in the oak and the iron, and it's actually reversible with oxalic acid treatment, which we'll come to. Joint movement. Oak expands and contracts with humidity more noticeably than some other timbers. Over time, this can loosen traditional joints like mortise and tenon. It's not a fault. It's the nature of solid timber breathing with its environment, but it does need periodic attention, surface checking or splitting. Small surface cracks, particularly at the end grain, are common in oak, especially where it's dried unevenly. Hees are usually cosmetic and stable rather than a structural concern, but it's worth knowing the difference between a hairline surface check and an active split that's growing. Old finish breakdown. Many older oak pieces were finished with wax, oil, or shellac-based products that degrade over decades, going cloudy, patchy, or simply wearing through in high-use areas. Knowing what you're looking at is half the job. The other half is knowing what to do about it. If you're restoring an oak piece or simply maintaining one, there's a logical order to follow, and skipping steps is where most people go wrong. Cleaning first. Before you do anything else, remove surface dirt and old wax buildup. A mild solution of warm water and a small amount of natural soap applied with a soft cloth is usually sufficient. Avoid soaking the wood. Oak doesn't like excessive moisture sitting on the surface for extended periods. Assess the finish. Determine whether you're dealing with wax, oil, varnish, or lacquer. This matters because your stripping method depends entirely on it. Using the wrong stripper can smear old finish deeper into the grain rather than lifting it out. Stripping, if needed. For heavily degraded finishes, a proper wood stripper suited to the finish type will lift the old coating without excessive sanding, which preserves more of the original surface patina, something collectors and restorers value enormously on antique pieces. Dealing with iron staining. This is where oxalic acid crystals, dissolved in warm water and applied to the stained area, do genuinely excellent work. It bleaches out the black staining caused by the tannin iron reaction, often restoring the timber close to its natural color. Always wear gloves and work in a ventilated space, and always test on a hidden area first. Sanding. Start with a coarser grit around 120. Only if the surface genuinely needs leveling. Move progressively finer. 150, then 180, then finishing around 220 grit for a smooth surface ready for finishing. Always sand with the grain, never against it, or you'll create scratches that show up badly once you apply oil or stain. Repairing joints. Where mortise and tenon joints have loosened, the traditional and still best approach is to disassemble carefully, clean out the old glue with a chisel and some patience, and re-glue using a proper PVA wood glue or, for more demanding structural repairs, a 2-part epoxy. Clamp firmly and allow full curing time. Rushing this step is the single most common mistake I see in home restoration attempts. Filling gaps and cracks. For small surface cracks, a color-matched wood filler, or for a more traditional approach, wax filler, sticks work well. For larger structural gaps, particularly in old beams, epoxy wood filler mixed with oak dust from your own sanding creates a near-invisible, incredibly strong repair. Finishing. This is where oak's character really comes through. Danish oil or hard wax oil are excellent choices for most oak furniture. They penetrate the grain rather than sitting on top, which means the finish wears more gracefully and is far easier to touch up later than a hard varnish. For pieces that need more protection, such as dining tables, a hard wax oil with several thin coats, lightly sanded between applications, gives durability without hiding the natural texture of the wood. Final polish. A soft cloth buff after the final coat has cured brings up a warm, natural sheen without the plasticky look some varnishes produce. You don't need a fully kitted workshop to look after oak properly. A good random orbital sander, a set of sanding grits from 120 through 220, quality PVA wood glue, a small tub of 2-part epoxy for structural repairs, oxalic acid crystals for staining, and a reliable hard wax oil finish will cover the vast majority of what you'll encounter. Add a set of sash clamps if you're dealing with joint repairs, and a good chisel for cleaning out old glue. Safety matters here too. Oak dust, like most hardwood dust, is a respiratory irritant, and prolonged exposure is genuinely linked to health risks. Always wear a proper dust mask when sanding and work in a ventilated space. Oxalic acid is effective, but it's also a mild toxin, so gloves and eye protection aren't optional extras. The biggest one is impatience with drying and curing times. People rush glue joints, rush oil coats, and the result fails within a year. The second is using the wrong finish for the piece's actual use. A coffee table that gets mugs, laptops, and elbows resting on it every day needs more protection than a decorative side table that mostly just sits there looking good. The third, and this one really does make me wince, is aggressive sanding that removes too much original material from antique pieces. Every pass with the sander takes away a small amount of the timber's history. On a genuinely old piece, less is almost always more. The goal is to stabilize and protect, not to make it look brand new. Choose your glue based on the job, not habit. PVA is fine for most furniture repairs, but for anything load-bearing or exposed to moisture, a proper 2-part epoxy gives a stronger, more weather-resistant bond. Epoxy beats filler whenever you're dealing with structural gaps or missing sections of wood, because epoxy actually bonds and gains strength, whereas standard fillers are largely cosmetic and can shrink or crack over time. For sanding grit, remember the rule. Never jump more than roughly 2 grit stages at once, or you'll spend twice as long removing the scratches from the coarser grit. For finishes, hard wax oil generally outperforms varnish on solid oak furniture that sees daily use, because it's repairable in patches, rather than needing a full strip back when it eventually wears. And on indoor versus outdoor oak. If you're working with garden furniture or exterior oak framing, expect and embrace the natural silvering process, rather than fighting it constantly with reapplied finishes. Oak was doing this long before finishing products existed, and it's remarkably good at protecting itself once that gray patina forms. Every one of these steps, every tool, every technique, it all exists because oak rewards the effort. You cannot say the same about chipboard or laminate. There's no restoration video for a swollen MDF cabinet because there's nothing to restore. It's simply replaced. That's the real reason oak still dominates British home design, centuries after cheaper alternatives arrived on the market. It's not nostalgia, it's not stubbornness. It's the simple fact that oak gives you something back for the care you put into it. A well-maintained oak piece doesn't just survive, it improves, develops character, tells a story through its grain and its wear marks in a way manufactured materials simply cannot. Imagine a Victorian oak sideboard pulled out of a damp garage after 20 years of neglect. Surface gray and lifeless, iron staining blooming across one corner where an old nail sat against damp wood for years, joints loose enough to wobble when you touch it, finish gone cloudy and patchy in patches, worn through completely on the top where decades of use left their mark. Now picture that same piece 3 days later. The staining lifted clean away with oxalic acid, the timber's natural warm honey tone restored, joints stripped, cleaned, reglued, and clamped tight, solid again, the way it was built to be. A fresh coat of hard wax oil bringing the grain to life, that distinctive oak fleck pattern catching the light properly for the first time in years. It's not a new sideboard, it's the same one, just finely treated the way this timber deserves. That transformation is available to almost any solid oak piece, no matter how tired it looks. That's the whole point. Oak doesn't die, it waits. If you enjoy seeing old furniture brought back to life and you want to understand the timber behind it a little better each time, subscribe to Timbermaster UK for more restoration projects every week.